UGA, UGA, that's that underground Athens. That's that underground. It's a long way up, it's a long way down. Sometimes you get to past the ones you see on the way back down. It's a long way up, yes sir. It's a long way down, yes sir. You got to learn to love yourself before someone else. I said it's great to be a Georgia Bulldog. Say it's great to be a Georgia Bulldog. I said it's great to be a Georgia Bulldog. Even if I live in Cali, it's how me a Bulldog.
Maybe this friend. So let's do that now, please. Sometimes you gotta breathe. And I'll be talking that talk to y'all, but I have to, I have to use my own tools sometimes. I told y'all when I be talking in the mirror. I be talking to myself. 'Cause I need help. I need counselor. I need therapy. I need all of that. But today we got a special guest. So tomorrow we'll probably talk about a couple of those things. It might come up today because I read some things in the book. You know what I'm saying? Life do show up. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
Well, hey everybody. My name is Annette Barnett. First name Kayana. I go by Annette. Um, Raised here in Athens, Georgia. Um, I'm a nurse for the cardiology, the Oconee Heart and Vascular Center here in Athens, Georgia. Um, yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Well, there's
And
much more.
you wrote a whole book. That's it.
Oh
That's who
well, I
you
guess
are.
I need to go ahead and it's still kind of surreal. So I am a um, upcoming author of my first book, um, Blooming in Muddy Waters, and yeah, this book is just pretty much just uh, talking about the struggles that I had as a child, coming into an adult, and it was inspired by me keeping a journal, writing in a journal, um, for therapy. I guess I want to say my daughter's what? She's 20. She'll be 21 in November. So I started writing in a journal when she was 2. Just keeping notes of the things that I've done, how I've grown, the mistakes that I've made to just kind of keep myself from not making the same mistakes, and even to just correct my wrongs, really. Um, just kind of always wanted to write because I've always been kind of creative in a different way. I've always been looked at like just different, not really having too much to say unless it was if it was deep. Most people don't like to hear the truth or deep things, so they avoid trying to talk to you because some people look at that like being strong-winded or long-winded. So um,
What inspired you to take your thoughts and write this book?
well, I came up in church at an early age, and um, because I came up in church at an early age, becoming a young adult, I actually began to have a relationship with younger kids, and then having my own group of kids that would come to you and talk to you about things that they were struggling with. And one thing about talking to kids or people about their problems or whatever, it does you no good to actually be able to talk and give advice if you can't be able to give something to them. So I think the journals that I actually kept along the years or whatever, those were intentions for me to give to my daughter at some point, for her to just have, so she could have to remember me by. But then, because I do so much in the community with the kids, it just made sense to actually put it in a book so that I could actually have to give to them as well. So I think that was the biggest inspiration, was to just make sure that the kids had something to, as they grew older, from 15, 18, 18 to 25, 25 to 30, 35 to my age, 44, to be like, oh, okay, we all gonna have struggles, we gonna go through things, but we can't just always talk about the struggles. We got to talk about the overcoming as well.
Mm.
So that's where the Blooming in Muddy Waters title for me came from, because I've always been inspired by flowers as well. So yeah.
Like the rose in the concrete. Something you said earlier before. Also, uh, how did you overcome when you say you was making those mistakes and not trying to do them again? How did you overcome those things, making those same mistakes? Cause I'm not perfect, and I still fall short. I still make mistakes today, and maybe you could help somebody out there. Maybe they should read the book, but cause you can get it on Amazon.
Right. And Barnes and Noble, and Google, and Apple. So um, for me, accountability. And accountability for me looked at like writing. Like we were talking about just a couple of minutes ago before we went live, imagination. I've always had an imagination. I've always been able to escape issues, problems, struggles, or whatever just by reading. Reading, you come up with these things, that come, in a book, that help you escape things that you actually deal with at home, whether it was your mom and stepfather fussing, your sister not doing what she's supposed to be doing. Okay, so my way of escaping that or overcoming struggles in that sense was my imagination and Nancy Drew books, mystery novels or something. And then being able to create a journal by just writing. And then later on, just remembering those steps. So I wrote about them. And then going back to reflect, I'm looking at those things and saying, I remember how I felt, because, like, again, that was my therapy. My therapy was reminding myself for the things that I did or seen or heard that made me not feel quite nice or good or whatever. So it helped me with accountability, you know.
Is accountability what led you? I mean, a lot of people. I mean, you took your journal and you
Hmm.
made a book, wrote a book out of it. Did accountability play a big part in that?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people say, I'm gonna do this, or have the idea, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, but they don't hold themselves accountable for their actions, to put actions into it.
Well, so I can't speak for how other people, handle situations and struggles, but there has to be something a little bit more in depth with you to make you not want to be or to feel the way you feel when you are actually going through a struggle. Some people actually get comfortable within a struggle and they anticipate it, they expect it. And as you learn, as you grow, because there's levels to every single thing, even with growing. That's the reason why I kind of relate to a flower, because a flower first has to be planted, and it's not in clean water, it's muddy waters. Okay? It's got to be in some type of soil. It's got to be hydrated. It's got to be nourished. It's got to grow. And it still doesn't actually even, it's not even looked at when it's growing. When it blooms, it's fully looked at. So I can fully look back at my life and say, okay, there were things that I was going through in my struggle that were stronger than, that were stronger than the weakness that I was dealing with, that was allowing me to say, okay, you gonna have to actually fight this, and this is your way of fighting this. So my way was doing it was writing. Now I could have left all of this in the journal again and said, okay, we're gonna just give this to my daughter, read it, and several times I can bring out cases of composition books that are, you know in storages that my daughter would be like, "Mama, what are we doing with these books?" Um,
Sometimes stuff like that it help your child understand themselves once they
correct.
understand exactly who
Yeah.
you are,
Right.
not just mine.
Right. So
So
with with the book, and I don't know if you guys have actually read the book, but um, we were talking about, the generation differences or whatever, and the things that I've had to deal with versus what my daughter has to deal with, and just me being a single mom. Uh, I don't quite expect for her to understand or grasp that all completely. So it is my job, it's my responsibility to actually be able to show her these things in a different light. Uh, so she don't expect, you know, um, you get out of life what you give. So,
did your mama write a journal? I mean, 'cause I know in your book, I mean, you talk about your mama a lot,
mhm, mhm,
and at a young age,
mhm.
and some things in my life I can really barely even remember, like kind of past grade school. Remember, it's a little blurry of preschool and things of that nature. But how do you get a lot of that information from and put in your book about your mama? Did she write a journal?
No, she didn't. We talked,
Communication.
and that's another thing. So one of the biggest things I talk about in the book is communication, because there were plenty of times because I missed my father. I did not have a bond with my dad. Period. She remarried. He was nothing like a father. He was nothing that I needed. So these things raise questions. You ask questions. You're curious. You want to know. Um, those questions led to conversations to where she just had to be, transparent. And I found out later, even when she became transparent, because it took her a very long time on God and everything I love, me asking her questions, it wasn't easy. And I know that she was trying to forget Mr. White. She didn't want to be able to just kind of relive certain things that she went through. So she tried to forget. Um, until I just decided that I was going to start just kind of researching my own stuff, trying to get my dad's birth certificate. That led to her actually telling me how he actually died, and because for a long time those things were just things that she never told us about. Why she never told us about it? Because of her struggle. I have an older sister, and I am a twin to a boy, and he came in the world being a diabetic. My dad died when my mom was in labor with us. So she probably stayed in the area that she was in for probably about 2 weeks or so before she came to Athens where her family was to get help with us. So the communication is what brought me to actually being able to say, okay, I need to make sure I keep something to remind myself of the things that I actually went through. That was another thing I didn't want to do to my child, you know, forget and not be able to tell her because of the pain that I've actually experienced with whomever, whatever, to give you what you need to be your full potential self and thrive.
I'm sorry. I mean, cause I read. I mean, and uh, I read in uh, not similarities, but I have a life, and
Hmm.
some of the things you just said now, I was I'm still trying to cope with or deal with some things, and that's why I try to talk to you guys about it. Maybe you guys, give me a little bit of feedback or maybe some suggestions. I mean, I don't need no advice, but because I don't give any advice. But sometimes, like I said, life do show up, and
Hmm.
sometimes it can get hard.
Hmm.
And I know you said you was a single mother or are a single mother,
Mhm.
but your mother was a single mother at a period of time,
Mhm.
and and like but it didn't stop her from being a mother,
Mhm.
and it just showed that the struggle can be for real, but what are you gonna do with it? I mean, cause some of us give up. I mean, today, I mean, I feel like throwing in the towel today. You know what I'm saying? Not just one thing, just like the domino effect. Like one domino fall, then another domino fall. I'm like, crap. Like when it'll stop. But I try to keep a good attitude.
Right. Right.
And like, but at the same time, like when the dominoes are falling, then you get like a little poke. Like, how far you gonna go? Then another poke, then another poke, and then as being a single parent, then you have these complications: twins,
Mm.
diabetes, uh, in Augusta, uh, to Athens, and moving around. And but one thing that got me was family.
Mhm.
Uh, maybe someone was there for a period of time, but look at it like maybe she left and she came back. Maybe they felt some type of way. But a lot of people from where I'm from, my family, leave and don't come back. And then some that's here. I mean, we actually, period. I don't even deal with my family. I deal with my father. I deal with my father. I got a couple cousins on my father's side. I deal with them. I talk to them, etc., etc. I love them all, but I continue to strive to the best of my ability and listen to some of your mother's story coming here today and thinking about some of the stuff that I read. It actually, lifted me up a little bit. I know I came down, I was looking crazy or whatever, or felt kind of down because still at this moment,
Mhm.
stuff was still hitting me and still hitting me. And then driving down here, you know what I'm saying? Like other stuff hit me, like people. I mean, but I have to remind myself, I can't control these people. I can't control them. I can only try to control my actions and how I respond, not how I react. But how was it? How was it for you? Because I also had some babysitters. That's why I'm going with the family. I also had some baby members. I mean, some babysitters that was family members, not necessarily alcoholics, but I've been through some things. I've been through some things, and some I used to hate it. I used to hate my mama send me to my auntie or maybe my grandma's house for the summer. It was more like a disaster or a torture for me. And then dealing with my brothers, them, uh, it was kind of hard for me. But I still haven't risen above that. But I did come to love my auntie, and I did become to love my grandmother. And actually, I was one of the ones that took care of my grandmother before she passed away, when no one else was there. So how did you maneuver through all of that? You know what I'm saying? Seeing your mother working so hard and not being there, and you running to the door for just for that little moment, ready to see. 'Cause my dad used to make me happy. I used to love to run to the door, see what my daddy get when he got home. Cause I'm like, my mama, she fuss all the time. I don't really want to hear that ish. But dealing with my grandma and them, going back and forth over there, my daddy was cool. My daddy was cool, and it was like, I get me a little peace when I'm at home, But episode yesterday, basically traumatized. That was the topic. That was the name of it. I've been traumatized over and over and over and over, and I'm still stepping. So, but sometimes, like I said today, I just want to throw in the towel. Like just say, I just want to just nut up because this person out want to get violent, things of that nature. But I have to, keep it in and just breathe sometimes. How do you keep, rolling?
So again, like I want if I had to go back to think how looking at my mama deal with the way she had to deal with being a single parent, it I could honestly say I can relate to you feeling angry, upset, and being the middle child, even though I'm a twin, ignored. Um, I was always meant to feel like I could take care of myself in a sense. And what I felt, nah, she gonna be all right. So my needs and how I looked at things somehow always kind of got like pushed to the side for us, for wherever because my sister was the oldest, so she got the attention she needed. She was there for 5 years before we were even born, right? And then my brother, he's the baby, and then he happens to have a chronic illness. So of course, and then he had to have the hugest dimples that people just adored. Okay, uh, I yeah, I was always looked at like the redhead, light skinned, mean girl. Um,
I'm sorry, God, no.
um, So watching my mama actually go through things or whatever, like she, if the bills, if like, then when bills and stuff had to be paid, people would come to your house to collect, the cable bill. Uh, if you were behind on the electricity bill or whatever, they gave you opportunity to pay it at the door if they came. So my mama would never leave any type of money or whatever at the door for my sister to do because she just knew that she wasn't gonna do it.
Hmm.
If it didn't get done, somehow it always landed on me, or I wind up having to be the one that was responsible for a lot of things. So again, how I think I managed, no, because of the creator, because he had my guardians looking over me as far as feeding me wisdom to not give up in that sense. And because my imagination was so strong when it did come to me having an outlet when it was time for me to be angry and upset and not be um, something that my mama couldn't use, but always something she needed, gave me that access to be like, okay, just go in your room, just do whatever. Because it was easy for me to just take the easy way out and do what my sister did. My sister would run away, she would leave. My brother, um, he was sickly, so he could use that to his advantage. You know, and the whole world will stop. You know, I had to be in the sense like where my emotions was almost not there. Um, and for a long time, you know what I'm saying? I dealt with that and was, I guess I was okay. But then in a sense, I wasn't because as I became a teenager, well, we started doing all this moving because my mom's way of dealing with things was, I'm out. She about to go. She ain't trying to talk to her family about it. She don't have to talk to her family about it. I'm a child at this point. So what do I know? And all I wanted at some point was somebody to talk to me about it. So, talking, being able to just respond in the book was my way of actually having a conversation about it until she got married again. Well, got married. And that just went like that was, excuse my French, that was shithole all the way. That was just because it was just a persona. Most people thought, oh, a lot of folks thought he was my dad, and he wasn't. A lot of people thought that, yo, okay, he wasn't, you know. So I gotta tell you, I mean, I stress this because I want folks to know that like, there's levels to everything, like I say, and if we don't have an imagination as a child because those are the things God give us when we are children and we have to grow those things. That means that you have to keep your imagination so lively that it helps you when you are in things like your, attitudes, issues, and struggles, and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm telling you, it sounds weird and it might even sounds crazy, but it gives you another outlet. It gives you another ray of hope. It taps into your creativity. Most people don't even understand that. If that's why I now understand. Well, I understand a long time ago that your attitude determines your altitude. If your behavior doesn't actually shift in the sense to where you try to tap into your creativity, you stuck, brother. You ain't going nowhere.
Somebody imagine for you.
Right. Yeah, and that's what we have a generation of now. People imagine for us. Why you think these people got more money? It's when it comes to like technology, when it comes to the phones and it comes to the video games, and because we won't give our children enough space to create their own stuff from their own mind, because we won't allow them to grow it. So we got to keep imagination live. We got to keep it growing, even as an adult. Um, Honestly, that's what keeps us going.
I think it's an attack on imagination right now.
Mhm.
I hate to use the word, but
It's right on
like
point.
slavery.
Yeah.
Just stay in line. When you in
Yep.
elementary school,
Yep.
stay in line.
Yep.
You stay all the way through your life, and when you don't, then people have a problem with it. Like you wrong, you doing the when you decide I don't want to go to school, I want to go do something else.
Yeah.
Everybody telling you, well, that ain't good because this is how stuff goes, right?
Mhm.
You're a bad person or you're making a bad decision. And who knows? Maybe you are,
Yeah.
but you gotta learn that for yourself.
Right.
You know, the best teacher is experience,
Yeah.
maybe, but
Yeah.
uh, you can't teach what you haven't experienced. And being that this world is not the world we grew up in, how can I teach my child what I haven't experienced? Because the technology is growing just like
Mhm.
the world is, and I'm experiencing it at the same time they are.
Right.
I just have 40 years of bullshit attached that I'm dragging with this mind, this excuse me, well yo, this young impressionable mind is just a sponge ready to be filled.
Right.
It's fresh,
Yeah.
So we have to grow with the new generation,
Yeah. We
or
do.
not, or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We do. We do.
You know what? This is perfect time to end it. I just want to say thank y'all for keeping it real with Mr. White. Y'all could be doing anything else, but y'all spending time with me. And
Annette, thank you.
I do want y'all to go get the book. I'm kind of I just got irritated again. Got mad again. I just got mad all over again. I'm really mad again. You understand? Oh, oh shoot. Oh shoot. 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 What's going on?
Look at that. Wow, that's
Man,
pretty. That's
look at that.
pretty.
The flower is definitely pretty.
Yeah, that's a lotus flower. A lotus flower blooms in muddy water. I am one of the. I am in love with flowers. I just love them. I got the vision of my book and the title 5 years ago by actually putting on Facebook a quote and um, just my thought process every single day. And I had a lotus flower and put it up there. And just a couple of days ago, that memory came back, and I was like, "Look at God, I see you." So it was definitely destined to actually happen. So
I encourage you to
yeah, let's just
imagine.
yeah,
I encourage you to keep a clear mind so it don't be clouded, so you can imagine, so you can find out what your destiny is. I encourage you to make action like make steps into your path, to your destiny. I encourage you, because I encourage me, period. I don't know what my destiny is quite yet, but maybe my destiny was wear this shirt. Because I definitely didn't want to wear this shirt. It's hot outside. I didn't want to wear no long sleeve, but shoot, blah, 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 whoop, whoop. You know what? I'm going to wear a shirt. We're going to treat it like Sunday. Don't forget, Sunday, we're not going to have church Sunday. I'm sorry. I'm going to miss y'all, but we're going to have church next Sunday. We're going to preach a little bit. No, we're going to have church Sunday. Because LG going to be here. Anyway, there's a lot going on this week. My mind messed up. But, the flower. And then when you start to read, you might start to understand when she explained a little bit. Sort of like a ugly duckling. But, or a moth, or a butterfly. From an ugly little worm to a blossom. Excuse me, pardon me. In muddy waters, in dirt, in manure, it grows. Sometimes it could be a drought where it's not enough rain. It might begin to wither. But then that rain comes and it might start to grow again. Listen, pay attention. Because it is written. It says, study to show yourself approved. Mm-hmm. It don't mean read the Bible. It means study. Study the hands of time. Study this world. Study people. Because when you see the dark clouds coming, chances is it just might rain. So you might need to grab you a raincoat. Do you understand what I'm saying? Trouble don't last always. She's a living proof. I am too. Something I said yesterday. I could be in prison. I could be dead. Many times I could be dead, but I'm here having this podcast with.
And it.
And we're talking about this book, Bloom in Muddy Waters. So don't let nobody hold that dirt against you and that mud against you. Shake it off. Because your Father already forgave you. Do you understand what I'm saying? You may didn't. Your Father already forgave you for whatever dirt you did, but just don't keep doing that same dirt. Keep trying so you can bloom, but yet you have to give it water. You have to feed it. You have to feed it something good. Now, if I give it coffee and all that caffeine, chances is that flower is not going to bloom. But if I give it something good like water, do you drink enough water? Do you eat enough fruit? I know a lot of y'all be talking plant-based, fresh fruit. But hey, Mr.White, Danny the Realest White, go to my Instagram. You're doing this for real. Eat good to feel good, not just food. Eat good to feel good. That means what you put in is what you gonna put out. What you put in is what you're going to put
underground athletes. That's that underground athletes. That's that underground. It's a long way up. It's a long way down. Sometimes you get to past the ones you see on the way back down. It's a long way up. Yes, sir. It's a long way down. Yes, sir. You got to learn to love yourself before someone else. I said it's great to be a joy. Georgia Bulldog. Say it's great to be a Georgia Bulldog. I said it's great to be a Georgia Bulldog.
Mr. White.